It is Wednesday. RawMikeRichards.com, broadcasting live from the DKI studios in downtown Toronto, 234 King Street East, out of the Pacific Junction Hotel. Coming up this morning, we're going to talk about Eli Manning. That's nice news he got after that streak of, 210 games? Not only are they putting Geno Smith in, but they're not even going to allow him to start, just for the sake of his legacy.
Well, he refused it, though, right?
And that's not what I'm hearing. He's saying he thought that he was going to play the first half. And they said, oh, no. Big McDermott said, Coach Mack, as he calls him, he said, no, you're not playing at all. We'll play that clip. We'll play the clip.
Okay.
The Toronto Rock, some of our favorites. And, of course, as you know, followed the show over the years. Toronto Rock cheerleaders. They'll be joining us. By the way, team this year, Dave, in Saskatchewan. The Saskatchewan Rush.
Yeah, they've been there for a couple of years. Yeah. They were moved up from, I'm trying to remember where they
Because that's what I'm trying to remember.
You know what? Mike Hancock will tell us about that in about a half an hour's time. But they've been there for a couple of years already. They moved from somewhere else, and they play out of Sask Place, right in Saskatoon, actually, not in Regina. And apparently they do quite well there, attendance-wise.
Yeah, I mean, some of those teams in that league, they do tend to bounce around a little bit. So we'll talk about their upcoming season. They always give it their all, Dave. And if you ever go to those games, I mean, it's only a couple hours, goes by quickly. They pump in the music. The girls do a great job, so we'll talk to them this morning as well. The Leafs go to Calgary and win. They've got the sort of Canadian Bermuda Triangle coming up, which means they'll also go to Edmonton, then Vancouver. And, Dave, it doesn't seem to matter which team it is. As you know, not only the time difference, sometimes it's also the elevation. By the time you get to team number 3, and it's different. Some teams start in Vancouver. You know, it's the third game that seems to be really tough on. It's tough to win all 3, and it will be tough to win all 3.
It will. This trip for the Maple Leafs is rather easier than some of the ones in the past because they do have the day off in between. Because a lot of times when you do the Alberta trip, it's a back-to-back on back-to-back nights, considering you're only separated by about an hour worth of driving time between the two cities. In this case, they're not in Edmonton until tomorrow night, and then they're in Vancouver on Saturday night. Vancouver fans love this too, by the way. When the Leafs or the Canadians come to Vancouver and they play at 7 o'clock Eastern time, which is a 4 o'clock start Vancouver time, just to get the prime time matchup. But hey, that's the way things work.
It is a tough swing. It always has been, and you have to think, Dave. We'll get to Calgary in just a moment in the Leaf, the actual details. But looking ahead at that Edmonton game, and Edmonton has had the weirdness and the troubles that they have of this season. So much was expected, and there's been huge disappointment. But Dave, if they don't show up for this, and as you know, when the Leafs show up in any of those towns in Western Canada, there's always huge Leaf fans wherever they go. So if you don't show up on your home ice against this Leaf team, who a lot of people, including myself, have said down the road, do I think that there could be a Stanley Cup final featuring those two teams with their young stars? Yeah, I believe at the time that was going to happen. So if they don't show up for this, we can't honestly say Todd McClellan should be worried about his job security. Because they've gone through so many coaches, Dave, in the last 10 years.
I know, and they seem to have the right people in place, or at least they appear to be, right? I would let this leash hang for a while. I would not tighten up the rope on McClellan and company. But, man, expectations on the Edmonton Oilers this year was basically conference final is the minimum that this team should actually finish. And right now they're struggling to actually make the playoffs.
Last night for the Maple Leafs, it was kind of by committee, and maybe not the committee that they have paid dividends for. It's not some of the bigger names. Doesn't matter. And for Frederik Andersen, is he no longer Anders Suck? Because this is going to cause some also some controversy.
No,
within
he's actually played well in November, which is for a second consecutive year, actually. Stunk in October. Very good in November, and we'll see what happens next. But But, man, yeah, you know what? He made a couple 5-ball saves yesterday against the Flames. It was actually a pretty good matchup as far as the two goaltenders were concerned. If you watch, too, especially early in the first period, Mike Smith made a brilliant pad save. It was his left pad save. And, you know what? Anderson was that much better in this one. So we'll see what happens. He should play all 3 games, I'm guessing, just because of the days off in between. And, you know what? Playing very, very well as of late.
All right.
I know. Hey, it kills me to say it, but I can't sit there and lie to you and say, no, he actually hasn't played very well. I'd be disappointed if, you know.
Well, you know what's coming from the head of the Toronto Maple Leaf fan club. Roast beef, Graham, Russell, you're just, well, I can see by the gigantic hat you have that's normally worn, I got to be honest, by 7- and 8-year-olds, that you're in a pretty good mood today.
Pretty good mood.
Yeah.
League best 941 save percentage in November.
Look at this guy, breaking down November.
See, he just threw that number at you, too.
I went back. You know what?
That's aggressive. That's very aggressive.
You know what's really funny about this, too? I went back and forth with a dear friend of ours, Coach Frank.
Oh.
And he threw that same exact stat.
Oh, they know it.
And then I sent him the comparables to Connor Hellerbuck on the season. And I wrote back saying, he's almost as good as Connor Hellerbuck so far. Like, he's getting there. He's getting close. He's within percentage points. It's 10 percentage points difference, but that's on the season. So as well as he's played for the month of November, he's not quite there on Connor Hellerbuck's level, right?
Is that what you're going to say, Russell? Because you're just dying to get in now. You're excited.
I mean, I can't deny that. Hellerbuck's had a hell of a season, so. I mean, I can't argue the stats that are there. Hellebuck's had the better overall season, but Freddie's arguably been better as of late.
Oh, it's Freddie now. Okay,
it's
Freddie.
Freddie now.
Yeah, Freddie.
But
do you say we, by the way, when you talk about the Leafs? Do you say we?
Does, he does.
I'm trying to get out of that
Yeah,
habit,
but you do say
but
we,
I
though.
do say
Yeah, of course you say
it.
we.
I'm trying to get out of that.
That hat is huge. On the Russ, go back to the Russ cam. Look at the size of that. Look at that.
My friend who's a Habs fan bought it for me. So
Really?
yeah.
And you know what the thing is? Russell doesn't have a Barry Bonds head.
No, but on that.
With that hat,
that's
though,
a huge head.
It could be.
No,
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah, here's what Coach Frank texted me this morning. If you missed it, you missed a doozy, but I'm sure you'll catch it on all the sports shows. He has a save percentage of .941 in the last 6 games, which is tops in the league. The guy is having an incredible November. And then I wrote back and said, hey, he's almost within range of Connor Hellerbuck's numbers. Well done.
Yeah, see, if you're looking for a compliment from Dave, I got news for you. Start shaving. It's not going to happen. No, you'd have to think that the coaching staff last night would have been pretty happy.
The coaching staff should have been really happy about this one, and it's kind of funny you say that, Mike, because we're going to go live now from Calgary because they still are in Calgary. They're making their way to Edmonton a little bit later on this afternoon. We bring in the head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs right here on RonMikeRichards.com. It's Mike Babcock. Coach, congratulations on the big victory in Calgary. First off, before we get to the game, when you're traveling through Western Canada with a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs, you get a lot of crowd support considering you guys are the visitors. Must have felt pretty good in Calgary last night.
Well, I take a look at the group as a whole, and I think that, being a Western guy myself, and actually I was a little disappointed that the Saskatchewan Roughriders didn't get through, went to the game A. But it's one of the reasons I decided to come to Toronto. I just talked to Lou. I said, we got some young guys out there. They can get her done, and that's what they did last night, and a lot of people showed up, which is always nice to see there, Dave. And I just sort of surprised who we had in the score sheet, but everyone's got to contribute. If you want to be a professional, you got to get her done.
And that's what I was just going to ask you on that score sheet. You mentioned being surprised. I think the entire city is surprised. Roman Polak scored his first of the season.
Yeah, I almost shit my pants over that one because he's generally terrible. I don't particularly enjoy that he's on the roster. I don't think he fits the group. I also think who's he? The Russian
Nikita Zaitsev.
Yeah, he's not that great. I told him. And so he goes out and he scores. He got her done. Cads, I knew, would do a good job. But, Poli scoring, which was so that's his quota for the year, probably.
He's good.
He's good. And what's-his-face scored, too. So that's good. And Freddie, done a good job, and he's been doing a good job. He has to keep his job.
What's the difference between Anderson in October and now November?
Well, you asked that question, I'll tell you. He was not shit. He was shit before, and now he's not shit. He's cutting his angles down. He's communicating with the guys up in front, and I think guys like O'Reilly and are done a good job, and so a good result. We got to go to Edmonton, which is always kind of tough because it's another shitty city. It's I'd never seen the sun come out in Edmonton. A lot of mullets up there, and a lot of fat girls and sweatpants and. It's a tough place to play, Davey. I'll tell you that. But the group will get it done. I believe that.
Coach, best of luck in Edmonton. We'll have to catch you after that Oilers game.
Russell's got a big head. I never noticed that. That's a big noggin. He must have a big pillow at home when he cries when we lose. But that's good. Thanks, Davey. Good.
Head coach Mike Babcock joining us after pretty much each and every single Maple Leafs game right here exclusively on rawmike.com. And he said it good. He said it well about Anderson's breakdown.
You almost said good. Is that are you going to start talking like him now?
I happen to agree with him on a lot of those points, and we'll see what happens against the Oilers, because the Oilers are the kind of team right now that can't afford to take steps back, and they're facing a pretty good Toronto Maple Leaf team. It should be a really good game.
Does Komarov stay with the team if you're looking at the future of it?
No, he doesn't.
Is he just a bridge player for now? And
he's
then
complete. He's complete unless it's a massively pay cut on what he's expected to make. Because in my opinion, and we'll get Rusty in on this one, what we have, to put it into Rusty terms, what we have, the Toronto Maple Leafs have. Nikita Shoshnikov kind of fits the role of a Leo Komarov, and he's much cheaper and probably a faster version. Maybe not as gritty, but I think he could turn into that eventually.
But does he not have a higher offensive output, do you think, eventually?
Absolutely.
Because Uncle Leo's not supposed to score goals, even though he did last night.
But Uncle Leo actually, see, what you'll get with Shoshnikov is probably more scoring. What you'll get with Komarov is more grit.
Yeah, a lot of people looked at or are looking at either Soshnikov or Carl Grundstrom kind of to be the replacement for Komarov. Grundstrom just got an injury over in Sweden, so most likely he'll spend a year in the Marlies next year to kind of regroup. But yeah, Soshnikov is a lot cheaper of an option, brings a little bit more offense while still bringing the grit and annoying as hell factor.
Yeah, because people love Uncle Leo. Like they do. He's popular.
And you want that in a player. You need that type of player or players on this team that could actually skate with lines properly. The offensive contribution will be nice too. Like I'm not trying to ballpark it or anything, but if he's grouped up with the right center in his peak, I would not be scared to put down 20 goals beside Shoshnikov's name. And I know that seems like, wow, that's a lot of goals. It's like, no. If you put him in an 82-game season and you balance him out properly with the right center and he actually plays the type of minutes that he should be playing, I'd be okay to put that check mark beside his name.
In other games last night, so the Oilers win 3-2. It was in overtime over the Coyotes. But the Coyotes of lately have not been almost the historically bad team that at one point they were, because no one can be that bad, we don't think, for that long. And the Coyotes all of a sudden, I mean, I'm not saying they're 500, but at some point if they fight their way into that, maybe I'm not going to be so surprised now.
Yeah, I still would be surprised if they fight their way into that, just because of the hole that they've dug. I think they're slowly getting out of the hole, as you mentioned, but man, that hole is massive. And considering that there's other teams in their same situation that have dug holes for themselves, but not as deep. And you're looking at one of them that beat them last night. You're looking at the Anaheim Ducks a little bit. You're looking at the San Jose Sharks a little bit. You're looking at the Chicago Blackhawks a little bit. So
what about the Stars? What about the Stars?
That's another great example.
Yeah, okay.
That's an example of a team that I thought not only was going to make the playoffs, but potentially had the chance to win the Central Division. They have dug themselves in front, like a massive hole in front of themselves. And when you're grouping like 4 or 5 teams and the Coyotes, I don't like the Coyotes' chances as much just because of what is around them in the competition factor, and especially with the, I was doing the Hockey Central Saturday show on the Fan. the Chicago Blackhawks on Saturday night were last place in the Central Division.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, show of hands out there.
Yeah.
Did anybody have that? Because if you did, you were lying. The Chicago Blackhawks are not a last place team in any league, in any era. That's how good this team should be and could be. But right now, they find themselves in a little bit of a hole.
So the Knights get filled in last night. Again, it was a second period, really, what it was. But how much longer do they? I mean, it's just not realistic, Dave.
Not much longer.
Like it's
No, I'm shocked that it's lasted this long, because this team is not a playoff team. This team will not make the playoffs.
Okay, that was my next question. If we're taking a look at it now, because we're just little over a quarter into the season, which means there is a ton of hockey left. Also, the Golden Knights just happen to sit in the Western Conference, which gets tougher every week all the way to the end of the season. It's the one division I take a look at that consistently plays out the same way, which is a ton of good teams. It's if you get behind, it's hard to make up ground in the West because everyone tends to get better, and that's why I take a look at a team like St. Louis. Can we see a St. Louis team that finally gets to a Stanley Cup final after the good teams they've had for the last the Hitchcock teams had the last 3-4 years?
Yeah, I think this is a team that's going to challenge, but I think this team is also overachieved in the first 2 months of the season. Will they make a playoffs in a nice playoff spot? Yeah, I think they will, and I think they could do some damage, but I don't think they have that next step into a Stanley Cup final. Things do happen though in the course of a season, right? You look at teams upsetting other teams, and then St. Louis getting that jump. They almost had it last year during the postseason, but it's a nice club. They have a great first line. They have depth within that forward group. The defense is excellent. A lot of people are looking at Alex Pietrangelo as a Norris Trophy candidate, and rightfully so. Probably going to be a top 3 even if he doesn't win. Goaltending, I'm still suspect on. I'm not sure if Jake Allen is going to be the answer there, but they seem to think that there is that next step for them, but we'll see. But that team will make the playoffs, but I'm not sure how far that team will actually go.
A couple things coming up before we get to the Toronto Rock cheerleaders. The lovely ladies who've come in over the last 6-7 years to our shows. Mike Hancock, obviously, and Jimmy Dawick, the owner. We've had a great relationship with them for a very long time. So we're going to try to implement more of this, get some of the players in as we get closer to the season, because the guys just work their balls off. Seriously, I mean, if you want to see work ethic, just hang around one of the guys who play professional lacrosse. They're always the most humble guy. They don't really make a ton of money doing it. They all have secondary jobs. Mm-hmm. They have like 1% body fat. I mean, these guys are cut because there is no mailing it in a lacrosse game, and they have the greatest attitudes. They're just wonderful to work with, and Jamie Dawick has always been fantastic as the owner of the Toronto Rock. So we want to do more of that. So we're going to get to them in moments. I also want to shout out to now this is a long time ago, but Robert, I won't say his last name, but I thought the name looked familiar. He said, in today's show, Mike, you talked about the idiocy of broadcast blackouts in sports. And he goes on to talk about the Chicago area and some of the things that happened. And I'm trying to think about why the name's so familiar. Instead of listening to sports radio after you left Calgary, he talked about a writing project that he did. But he has been listening to us from the Chicago area. And as he said, enjoying the show online. Our good friend Bob from Park Forest, Illinois.
Hey, awesome.
So it's nice to see another expat. But,
how you doing, Bob?
But and he was a very insightful guy. Very insightful guy. Very astute when it comes to sports. So the fact that he's listening from Chicago, like a lot of our American friends, we certainly appreciate it, even though courtesy and via Calgary. Before we get to the girls, also something happening today. I'm going to play a little music. This is when I think of piano playing downstairs in my basement growing up in Stouffville, Ontario. I think about my father, Jim, who turns 84 today.
Hey, happy birthday, Jim.
Also known as the coach amongst many of the other awards and accolades that he's got over what has been an incredible professional career from an area called York Region. York Region, just so you know geographically, is just above Toronto. So Thornhill goes all the way to Lake Simcoe, up to Sutton and Keswick, as far over as Langstaff and Woodbridge.
Yep.
Almost all the way over to Port Perry. It is a massive area. He has been the teacher of the year. He's been the citizen of the year. And when he coached, there's very few things, Dave, that he didn't do right. And when it came to volleyball, which he specialized in a tiny, tiny school where he came from, that whole region, York region, at one point in senior men's volleyball, you want to talk about dynasties? 16 years in a row. 16 years.
Wow.
When you look at the plaque and the trophy, just nothing but Stouffville District Secondary School. I had a chance to win 3 of them, 3 championships.
That's it, eh?
I never lost a game.
See, I had you down for 6.
Well, people are saying, wait a minute. Senior volleyball, how could you have 3? Kind of went back for a couple of victory laps just to win some more.
See, I was anticipating you were there for grade 10 through and playing.
Started in grade junior, and then 12, and then there was 13.
There was
and
13
then,
at the time.
and went back for another 13.
Hey,
I'm not good at school, which means I'm the opposite of what my father has done most of his career. But that is just part of who he is.
That's
By the way,
awesome.
Can I the other picture that I have there? Have you shown all 3 pictures? Sorry, I want to go back. My brother Scott actually found this of my mom and dad back in about 1950-something. Take a look at this picture when you talk about people in their youth, and there they are. And I have to admit, in some ways, I still see them the same way as most people do. One of the most well-known, respected man, certainly the biggest influence in all the good parts of me.
I was going to say.
The good parts.
The good parts,
Yeah.
exactly.
The bad ones come from his father and his brother Bob. Happy birthday, Dad. I know I'll see you soon, and I will see you this weekend. Okay, coming up, a lot of guys going, it's fine, we're the cheerleaders. Where are the cheerleaders? Take it easy. Russell, look at him. See, that's why he wore the good hat.
Yeah. He's not wearing sweatpants today. I'm kind of surprised.
I think he's trying to lock that down, if you know what I mean.
That's true.
Trying to shut it down. Way to go, Matt Lauer. Okay, so.
Settle down, Spacey.
Yeah. Take a seat, Spacey. So we're going to bring in the Toronto Rock cheerleaders in just seconds, talk about what has been, talk about championships in Toronto. Why did they not mention the Rock? They probably won more in the last 10, 15 years than almost all the other ones combined.
Yes, exactly.
We get to the Rock cheerleaders coming up after this great moment. Is this 2011? 2011, yet another championship for the Toronto Rock. And there it is, yet another championship for the Toronto Rock. As I said, the success that they've had is amazing. And so now Russell's trying to going, why do we have a back of the head girl shot? Well, the reason we have that is because we have girls in the studio and not in a weird Louis C.K. way. Here on RawMikeRichards.com, we have the lovely, and it's the Toronto Rock cheerleader. There's no nickname.
No,
Has anyone?
sadly, no, not really.
Why is Jamie? Why is he cheaping out? Why can't he? He's got money. I know he has a lot of money. So, why can't? Has anyone thought about having, or it's just always been the Rock cheerleaders?
Well, our hashtag is Rock Cheer.
Yeah,
so
Rock
that's a
Cheer.
little
Rock cheer, that's right too. Because over the last 6-7 years, we've had a lot of them in, and Kelly would come in, Nora Jean and Krista. They would all Alicia, because she do cupcakes still. Do we know? Is Alicia still doing cupcakes? Do you know who that?
No.
Oh, Okay, that's very disappointing. Very disappointing for me. And people are going, okay, Matt Lauer, what do you mean cupcakes? What I'm saying is they actually were real cupcakes, as in baking the cupcakes, not in the...
yeah, I don't know the story.
No,
but
then
yeah,
in the other like creepy, how are you cupcakes doing? Okay. So let's just pull the microphone a little closer. We'll go from lovely lady to lovely lady.
Right.
And what is your name?
Hi, my name's Sarah.
Sarah, how many years have you been with the squad?
This is my second year with the squad.
Second year, and you're just passing along. And yourself?
Hi, I'm Marnie.
Look at Marnie. Marnie. Look.
Marnie's ready to go.
Marnie.
So ready to be
No,
here.
no.
Not
that's good.
shy. Marnie, how many years for you?
This is also my second year on the team.
Second year,
And I'm Kate. This is my third year.
and that's your third. Now, is the other Katie? Is she still? And Katie's gone.
We have good news, actually.
Oh.
She's pregnant.
Oh.
okay.
We're like, is it a lacrosse player or a cheerleader?
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, I'm going to leave that last one alone. Well, it's a really cool legacy. Like the Rock Roadies and Jarrett. You might know Jarrett and all the.
Awesome.
They just adore you girls. And I think sometimes in this day and age where people get a little, like everything seems to be, if you talk to someone that's, a cheerleader or one of the crowd, it's creepy. Like everything's creepy. You're creepy. But the reality is, and at least it's been my experience anyways, especially with the Toronto Rock, that those group of individuals who go to the games and they're diehards, they go to a lot of games. It's like they're your protectors. It's like this massive family that it's not like someone that you should fear and go, oh God, here he comes again. It's like, kind of the big brother-ish kind of, they really do look after you, don't they?
They do. Actually, I remember the first time I met Jared, the first thing he said to me was, if anybody bothers you, come to us. We got you.
And it's been that way. Now, are you doing, in terms of promotions, are there like there's calendars? Have you done the calendar yet?
No,
No.
there's no calendar.
No,
Sadly, I know.
really? Oh no.
We did a photo shoot, and our pictures will be up on the website soon.
Okay,
On
but
Monday.
they're going to be up on Monday on the TorontoRock.com. But there's going to be no calendar this year? Oh, Jamie, what is going on?
I know.
Yeah, let's see the size of the car he's driving to the game, though. See what I'm saying? There's some money somewhere. We're missing this. And now the first game, who are we playing first game? What's the first home game?
Saskatchewan.
Yeah, it's the Saskatchewan Rush coming to town, but I think it's on the road. You start. Is it the Bandits? Who's the first game?
Bandits on Friday, the 8th of December.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first game of the season. Now,
Yeah.
do you guys make the trip to Buffalo at all for that? Considering it's sort of close.
No, but last year we did go to
Okay.
one of the Buffalo games just as a crew to go to watch in the
Right,
audience. It was
right.
really fun. We don't perform there, but we've gone.
I know how that works when the girls go down to Buffalo. You don't have to. You don't have to explain to me.
Wasn't that the first time they won two in Buffalo in a while or something like that, which is amazing.
Well, because Buffalo, they're not our friends.
No,
No, and I would say, who do you think? Who's the biggest Rob? Is it Rochester? Like who do you think?
no, Buffalo.
It's
I would
Buffalo
say
for you guys?
Buffalo over Rochester, really?
Yeah.
I'd say so.
Well, it depends over the years, but because I know
Yeah.
Buffalo's been pretty heated, but Rochester also.
Oh, yeah.
Rochester,
Yeah, we're not friends. I think is what they're saying.
What's the geographically speaking? It's
Yeah.
always the closest towns, cities to where you are, right? So
Now, in terms of the commitment, so the team was probably picked over the fall, right? In September, is that when when the tryouts were?
End of September.
End of September. And so how did you get involved with this? Because a lot of times it's gymnastics or it's dance. Sarah, we'll start with you. How did you get involved with the team?
So I've danced since I was like 2, and I remember seeing The Rock posting that they were auditioning, and that's when I went to the audition and saw what it was all about. I had already been to a lot of the Rock games before, so I already knew the community, and that was something I definitely wanted to get involved in.
That's amazing. That's incredible legacy when you think about it. So where do you grow up? Like what's hometown for you?
I'm from Uxbridge.
I know
actually.
Uxbridge.
You guys know
Uxbridge Bruins.
Yeah,
I-
yeah.
I'm originally from Stouffville. Don't get me started. See, it's also a little heated now all of a sudden. Uxbridge High School for you?
Yep. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
You know what they say about girls from... Anyway,
no,
good for you. And Marty, where are you from originally?
I'm from Thornhill,
Oh, Thornhill. We just
Thornhill.
mentioned Thornhill. What high school for you?
Westmount.
I'll see West End.
I went for the dance program.
Oh,
Yeah.
so obviously, how long have you done
So
dance?
I've been dancing since I was 4, and I was in competitive dance, and then I studied in a professional dance company, and I actually am a professional dancer now,
Very
which is
nice.
amazing. And I've wanted to be a cheerleader forever. I actually met Kate 5 years ago, just for one day, and we had each other on social media. She was posting about The Rock. I went to the audition, and boom, It was like incredible, and it's the perfect team for me. I absolutely love it.
Well, and you bring up a point though, because you know, the time I spent in Calgary, so with the girls out there, and the dance aspect of it, it seems like it's getting harder. Like it used to be a time where it's like, here come the pretty girls. The music would come on, they'd be like, it didn't matter, right? You're on the team. But now some of the choreography, if you don't have that, can you make the team if you don't have that background?
Usually not. But you know what? Everyone on the team is such a great dancer that we all bring such great energy every single time. And I love how high quality the dancing is.
And Chris always says, too, it also is about the personality because she can, like, help you get to that level. But every year the audition, she says the talent that's come out is bigger and better and more advanced, so it's easier, and then you can base it off more on the personality.
Now, Katie, so obviously for you, we're going to go into the not pregnant Katie. So you said dance background as well.
Yes, since I was 2 as well, and then I went to George Brown College for the dance program. And I have my own company as well called Sapphire Dance Productions.
Okay.
It was Sapphire. Let's get that in there.
Yeah, let's get
Sapphire,
that.
absolutely.
What's the website?
SapphireDanceProductions.com.
Okay.
Just move that a little closer to you, Kate. So, and growing up for you was where?
North York.
In North York.
Yes.
And high school for you was?
Earl Haig.
Earl Haig. Fancy.
Arts High School.
Yeah, arts. Oh, yeah. It's like fame. And so now here you're all together. So is it mostly, because I'm looking at the pictures and I'm seeing a lot of the girls that I knew have obviously moved on. They get married. They have children.
Some of them are now your I guess the captain. Well, not captains. What would they be called? The choreographers, like Krista, for example.
2 captains,
right,
and then the coach.
Coaches, right.
So they all kind of choreograph.
Who's coaching this year?
Krista.
She's
So
a former
Krista
dancer,
is doing
right? 'Cause
that.
I think we've talked to her in the past too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is her 3rd year coaching.
Okay.
It's her 3rd year now. Oh my God, I can't believe that. Now she's awesome. Like she's wonderful.
Amazing.
Paola is not part of this?
No.
Okay,
she
so
comes to the boot camp and kind of gives like
yells
a
at you?
speech and
Yells at you.
Now when you do that, do you do any of the stuff in the facility out in Oakville? Do you?
Yeah, we do. We have our preseason games there, and then our boot camp is all in Oakville as well.
It's a great facility. Sometimes when I talk about Jamie, and I actually haven't had a chance to see him in a while, but I know I will. You know, he's sort of the Mark Cuban of that league. I mean, he treats everyone like it's the fact that facility is better than almost most like universities, even on the East Coast where lacrosse is so popular. And the one thing that he's always been really big on is you know, obviously, you know, he has to have the right kind of people for his cheer squad, but it's attitude, because I've been to a lot of the tryouts where they come on and I'm like, whoa, who's that? And I'll get the no. Why? Not, she won't fit in. She won't fit in. She's not part of. She doesn't want to be part of the team. She just would rather if she were the only one out there doing it. And I think in this day and age, that's pretty pretty amazing to hear that kind of stuff. And as I said, 2 years for all you girls. How long do you think that you'll do this? How long?
I'm one of the oldest on the team, actually, if not the oldest. I think
Right.
I am, actually. So probably not too long for me, but 3 years has been amazing.
Is that average, do you think, for the girls? What is the
A
average
lot
for
of,
that?
like, I know Katie's been there for 3 or 8 years. So she was a long time, and then a couple other girls 5 and 6 years. So it just depends. I wish I found out earlier in my life, kind of after college, but I had no idea about it until 3 years ago. But it's okay. It's really fun. I'm making the most of it.
Well, good for you. And as I said, it's something that you make lifelong friends. Like most of the girls I know will always be friends forever. They move on. As I said, they get married. They do things professionally. Sometimes professions change, but they always come back, and it's always the girls. And I think that's pretty awesome. Now, when it comes to the team itself, how much are you involved in terms of knowing what's going on, expectations, stuff like that, or are you in tune with that kind of thing, or you just show up and I hope we win tonight?
We actually there's like 2 specific people that come in mind, Jonathan and Nolan, who we call them like we go to them for like any stats or anything like that. Like if we're like, how do you think we're gonna do tonight? They know all the information.
So that's your inside information.
That's our inside information.
There you go.
So, Dave, you were saying it is the Bandits, but that is away. That's
on Friday, December the 8th. They're home to Saskatchewan on the 16th, and then I guess a couple weeks out, I guess you have the Christmas break. And then on the 30th, Buffalo is here, which Buffalo twice in the course of 3 weeks is pretty big for them.
on December the 30th too. That'd be a pretty good one to go to.
Yeah, right before New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
The
New Year's Eve
precursor.
to the New Year's Eve.
Yes,
Yeah, that's what I'm going to call it. That's a new promotion. Don't steal it, Jamie. I just came up with that on the fly. Stop doing that. Well, thank you so much, ladies, for coming in. Awesome. As I said, you're beloved by the fans. And when I talk about entertainment and getting the bang for your buck, you can't beat a Rock game. I mean, it's 2 hours and change. They're pumping in music all the time. When Bruce Barker did all that. They've carried that energy that he always has brought to the booth. So people are always cheering. You guys come out, you do your numbers, you're fabulous, and it's always, as I said, a competitive team, if not a championship, most times in Toronto. So if you have not been to a Toronto Rock game, I'm going to tell you that heading out and seeing the against the Saskatchewan Rough, that would be a rush. That would be a nice way to start it. Once again, December the 30th. So if you're all home for the holidays, you want to do something different that's affordable for the whole family, and I think that's really important.
16th is the home opener. so
16th
don't
is the
forget
home
about that
opener.
part,
Yeah. And so let's go out and support the guys. And there's no mailing it in a lacrosse game. They once they're on that floor, I'm telling you, those guys are just giving it. They burn it. It's really exciting. If you haven't been, it takes a while to kind of get used to the rules sometimes, Dave. What is offside, and even some of the if you haven't seen a change where one guy's running down, he has to wait for everybody else to kind of change up. It's like one against the entire team for about 3 seconds.
With the girls, with the players, with the music, it's a rock and roll sports festival. That's what it is.
And a shot clock, just so you know. That's why it keeps moving. And a shot clock as well.
It's a lot of fun. It's great entertainment, and we thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
ladies.
and they have booze at the ACC. So I'm sorry,
yeah.
I'm Irish. It's very important.
It's such a nice community feel.
It is.
I absolutely love it.
I agree 100%. Thanks so much for coming in. So that's the ladies, the Toronto Rock. Once again, that is the 16th. That is the home opener. The 30th is when the Bandits, if you really want to come to boo and dislike somebody, I would suggest that's the game to do it. Going out, what are we going to see here, Rusty? This is just more highlights. This is what it's like. It's fabulous. Get down there. I know Jamie and our good friend Mike Hancock, they appreciate it. Ladies, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you so much.
We talk football, and LeBron James gets ejected for the first time ever in his career. Uh-oh, we do that next.
Billings on that left wing.
Awesome. Okay.
Billings looking for a lane. The pick was missed by Hellier. Went near side on the baseline. Another shot and scores. Off the rebound. Stephen LeBlanc after a nice shot by Higgins. Couldn't get the second. We're tied at 1. Post swinging, spinning, off the mark. Back shot. And finish. Here comes Edwards. Edwards turns on the jet. Edwards underhand. Score. Count it. Whoa. David Edwards pressed the goal button and didn't stop. We're all tied at 2. Finds Billings, 9 on the shot clock. LeBlanc steps back. One arm his way in, and that's pure power. Stephen LeBlanc, count it. 3-2 Toronto. Man on his way to Toronto. Billings toss back a little bit of space. Big tack. Oh, goal. Rob Hellier. 4-2 Toronto.
What a finish. The Rock, as you said, tic-tac-toe, getting the ball moving. Excellent, quick ball movement, and Hellier is the recipient of the finish.
Studer and Hofstrauser. Second fight of the game already. Bad blood. Hofstrauser wasn't even on the team. Studer laid a blow after Hofstrauser went down.
And then helped him up.
And helped him up. Good sportsmanship. Some 2 fights, and both of them, Minnesota Swarm players, ended up on top of the Rock play. Hofstrauser coming over via trade for future draft picks from the Vancouver Stealth. Games back.
It has been a pretty feisty affair already. We've seen a lot of Sandy Chapman and Corbin Tao down in the Minnesota offensive zone really getting tied up. This time it's Hofstrauser going with Studer. And a pair of Orangeville Northman alumni decide to toss the Dukes.
Entering the next break. Rock on fixed thing and power play. Double minor. Rock Sorensen went high. Higgins got his shoulder in the way. Rock cover. They're Billings in close. Wide open cage. No chance for Higgins. Beautiful blind pass to Sanderson. And that's the 5th goal of the night for Toronto. And a couple fights. Sounds like we're And Henry did for Toronto on the power play. Now, left side, back number 500 for Captain Colin Doyle on his career. As time expires in the half. 7-4 Toronto.
And Joe Sullivan pointing to the jumbotron here. He wants to get another look at this. See if Colin Doyle's 500th career goal is going to count. Because that was very close.
That, of course, your Toronto Rock, as we featured them this morning. We'll get a lot of the players on, too, as we continue to branch out. And, again, our good friends from the Toronto Rock, the girls are awesome. They always are. It's amazing what they do. And they're really well-liked and actually loved by the crowd. So we appreciate them coming in.
Russell was enjoying that segment, too.
Yeah, that's why it was a non-sweatpant day. What's going on over there, Russell? Is that a phone number I see? Did you get a phone number? See, even now I'm careful. I'm like shaking their hands. Thanks for coming in. Not
Matt.
Yeah, in the old. Yeah. It's like everything is like the things that I used to say and do. I make sure I don't do them. This is wrong. I'll tell you what's wrong. Apparently, the officiating. LeBron James. And when you watch this, when you watch the call, Dave, I don't know if you've actually seen the call. He is frustrated about a bunch of things, I would suggest, that has built up to this. Because when you see what is considered to be a no call, you look at it. I've seen Raptor games where I think literally the other teams go, get machetes and baseball bats. And our guys will go in, and that's right, I'm saying our guys, as in the Toronto Raptors, and they get hammered in the paint, and there'll be no call. The Raptors do not get calls. It's LeBron James. He's the king. He expects to get calls. But I'll be honest. I'm watching this thing. His ejection was just about the frustration he's had about maybe not getting to the line. Therefore, he has made a complaint that they're trying to make him into a jump shot artist, which he wants to go to the line, and I guess he feels he's not getting the call. So in this instance, he'd had enough. He probably said something not only once, but twice, because it's a double T, and out he goes for the first time ever in his career.
Johnson popping inside. LeBron James picked his pocket.
He sent him. He sure did. Here comes LeBron changing gears, bumping and missing.
He thought he was fouled. He's going to get a tech. And he's out of here. LeBron James has just been ejected.
Uh-oh.
He's frustrated. It's frustration, that's all that is.
That's the first ejection
of
LeBron James' career.
Watch.
He got frustrated with the referee calling.
My goodness. Back-to-back text from Kane Fitzgerald.
I mean, he got the button, no call.
Now, they're going to ask Ty Lue. We're going to keep this running. Once again, the property of the National Basketball Association and courtesy of ESPN.
Oh, yep.
And Ty's going to get a question after the game.
He said, Fitzgerald said not only once, but twice.
Yeah. Wonder what that word was.
Do you think
Here we
LeBron
go.
warranted the ejection?
Yep. Should have got thrown out. Yep.
I got fouled and showed my frustration to the ref, and he sent me to the locker room. I said what I had to say, and I moved on, but he decided I should get two of them.
Yeah, well, if you've ever seen, have you seen, was it semi-pro?
Yeah, semi-pro.
Semi-pro.
Yeah, you're right. The Flint, what were they called? The Flint?
The Tropic.
Yes.
That movie kills me. That's one of the funniest movies. I'm serious. That kills me. You remember what he goes, I hope your what does he say? I hope your whole family gets murdered. And then he says something about his mom. He goes, uh-oh. I think he said S my C. Yeah, I believe he said S my C. That movie kills me. And the basketball gets played in it. Actually, it's pretty interesting. It's pretty good. And I've been to Flint.
Have you really?
I went through Flint.
I haven't been to Flint. No.
It's a third world country. I'm serious.
I was going to say some of those towns in Michigan.
I'm not making this up. I actually told this to our good friend Brian Williams. There was a gas station that was so hideous. It was like the Star Wars bar. There were freaks, and I don't know what was going on there. The woman in front of me, I don't know what. I can't say what the odor was. I don't want to. There were flies around her. Flies. Like it was a UNICEF commercial or something. I've never seen anything like it in Flint. They have just been decimated. I think people have actually donated money or whatever it was.
Wow.
I think some artists actually sent some money. I don't know which one it was, just to help them out because it is so bad. But the Flint Tropic, if you haven't seen Semi-Pro, that's Jackie Moon.
Yes.
Jackie Moon. Now I'm laughing. Now I want to see the movie. I think a lot of people, if you've seen it, now I have to go see it. With the afro, and then Woody Harrelson, who actually is a pretty good athlete.
Yep.
Like some guys can kind of fake it better than others. Like if you've seen,
he was good in White Man Can't Jump either.
White Man Can't Jump.
Yep.
But I also think of guys like even Kevin Costner when he was swinging the golf club. It looks like he actually could swing
Sure.
it. When he was Bull Durham, like when he'd swing the bat. Some guys actually look. Randy Quaid, who played that story. Was it Randy? Not Randy Quaid. Dennis Quaid. Sorry, Dennis Quaid.
Yeah.
No, Randy Quaid.
No, he can't.
He played Babe Ruth. Yeah, no. Dennis Quaid, but I guess he played a little bit of ball when he was a kid. So when he did that movie based, that biopic, where he was the high school coach, and they said, well, why don't you try out? And he ends up, it's a true story of the guy who ends up playing, I think, for the Braves.
Okay.
Like one season comes out of the bullpen or whatever it is.
The Devil Rays. He played for the Tampa Bay Devil Rays.
That's
yes.
right.
Yes,
That's
he
right.
was. Yeah. It was a Disney production.
Right,
And
exactly.
I'm trying to remember the name of it, but yes, it was
But
the
I
Devil Rays.
I can watch those things because I do like when guys have somewhat of an ability. Now, the weirdest one with that.
Because there's opposites too, Mike. There's opposites.
Where?
Like when you watch Goon, those guys suck at hockey. Those guys really suck at skating and Stifler, when he I forget his real name. He's garbage skater, and you can't fake skating.
No.
You either know how to skate or you don't.
If you want to see the worst one ever,
and you're garbage.
The worst one ever when it comes, because hockey always gets mutilated. Love Story. So that's back in the 70s. So that was Ali. I can't think of the name. And it wasn't Robert Redford. It was Ryan O'Neal. And he's supposed to play, I believe, it's either Harvard or Yale. I mean, it's before my time, really. And he's supposed to be on the varsity hockey team.
Okay.
Wait, if you see how they skate, come on.
Really,
like, why don't you just have him standing up and just move like a picture behind him of guys actually playing? That would have come out better than seriously on his ankles. And there's a pass to Jones, streaking down. No, he wasn't streaking anywhere. Allie, why can't I think of her name? She was the big love interest.
You know what else? You know who else sucked at skating? Rob Lowe and Youngblood.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was garbage. And you know what? Really,
I think Peter Zezel was in that.
You're 5'1", 78 pounds, and you're Youngblood. I mean,
Dave, he was busy off the ice.
I know he was.
He was busy off the ice shooting other stuff.
I know he was, but that pisses me off. Like, because I watch a lot of sports movies. Like I loved Miracle. Miracle was fantastic.
Miracle was really good.
Like Kurt Russell as Herb Brooks was amazing. Anytime when we talked to Dennis Maruk about Kurt Russell, that was. And it was true. I've heard it from a number of different people.
Mike Eruzione.
Yes.
Mike Eruzione, because he was one of the consultants on the film.
Yes, he was.
And I remember talking to him and saying, so, we know Kurt Russell has so many other different roles. Can you buy him as Herb Brooks? He goes, there was a couple of times once they got into it that he had to remind himself that it wasn't Herb.
Yeah.
That's how good it was.
That's how good it was, exactly. And if you haven't watched Miracle, I know it's a lot of United States propaganda, and they fluke off this 1980s gold medal because it was a fluke. It really was.
It didn't look real. It looked too Hollywood. It
Yeah.
was. I mean, the Russian game was just weird.
Yeah, I remember watching that game as a kid.
So do I.
And I didn't understand how big of an impact that was, but after studying it a number of years, and I've read a lot of stuff on it, I've watched a lot of stuff on it. There were so many great NHLers that actually advanced into the NHL right after that tournament. Dave Christian was a big one for the Winnipeg Jets at that time. It was. You knew I was going to get that in there. It's a phenomenal story, but it's once in a lifetime too. Like that will never happen again.
No,
ever.
No. And you have to remember too, if you're of a certain age group, when people start talking about these Olympic hockey tournaments and gold medals. At my age, I've grown up with, for the most part, the NHLers and the top players in the world were not in that tournament because there were no pros.
Right.
So it was impossible for me to look back. You know, when we started talking about Olympic hockey, I'm like, Olympic hockey, it wasn't that big to me. Like the American thing was big, but I didn't know any of the players on Canada.
No.
And therefore, Canadians didn't watch a whole bunch of Olympic hockey because they knew their best players weren't there. And the fact that they're not going to be there at this game, Dave, I still am curious to wonder how much, considering the time difference, how the brutal time, are you going to be watching that tournament?
You know what I'll do? I'll PVR.
I may or may not, yeah.
I'll PVR.
And you know me.
it.
I don't tape. I tell anyone, if you like sports,
know,
you can't record it.
But I have to.
But in this case,
I will, and I won't go on social media.
But see, I think the reason that you tape it is because we kind of don't care.
Yeah, I know. But
like if it was real, if the real players were playing, you'd be up watching it.
Yeah, I'd be up watching
for
it.
real. You would.
Yeah, I know I would, but still, if somebody wears a Canadian jersey, I'd probably watch anything with it. That's a thing. So you know, because this team is going to be junk too.
I'm not getting up at 3:00 in the morning. I will record it like you. I'll record it.
No,
but if it was the pros, you're either getting up early or you're staying up late.
Staying up late, exactly.
Russell, you going to watch that tournament? Oh, just take your time there.
Yeah, relax.
I'm gonna try.
You can put the Russ cam on. It's okay. It's you're flustered. I know. The girls came in today, and he's sweating over there. His face a little red. By the way, Coach Frank, that's an awesome tweet. Jackie Moon, I'll burn your house down. That's what he yelling at the official. I'll burn your house down. Sorry, Russell. Olympic tournament.
I'll probably do the same and PVR it, unless it's like a really good game. Then I might get up and watch it. But for the most part, I don't even care about like seeing the results on Twitter. It would be more like recording it just to watch the highlights.
Like 3:00 in the morning, Canada, Latvia. I'm not.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not getting up. Canada, Germany. Canada.
See, you know what? Part of my love for Olympic hockey is I used to like to watch teams like Italy, Switzerland when they were garbage. West Germany, yes, I used to watch it when it was West Germany, not Germany out there now.
There's a West Germany?
Yeah, exactly.
Like a New Mexico?
Like I wanted to see those junk teams. Now they're not bad teams actually, and so like Slovenia, for example, was a great storyline from last time the Olympics in Vancouver. It was a great story. They played actually well and they upset a team. So I mean I love to see like back in the day, Italy consistently had a team in the Winter Olympics for hockey, and a couple of those Italian players were Winnipeggers that I actually played against.
Of Italian heritage.
Of Italian heritage, yeah. So, it's kind of, from that perspective, I like it. Like, did I like watching Russia or Canada steamroll these teams 11-0 and 12-2? No, but I kind of wanted to see what the competition was elsewhere. And I think one day, before we close up on that note, one day we're going to see the same sort of curiosity on some of the Asian teams. Like Korea is going to have a hockey program that is going to be susceptible to competing soon. I wouldn't be surprised.
By the way, that's South Korea. I really don't think it's
the
North Korea.
The North Korean team may not have the same standard.
Known as the Bombers. No, you can't call it that. Don't call it that.
You're a country name. You don't have a nickname. No, but like Israel, for example, they have a hockey team. Like, I don't think they're going to be anything of significance, but one day Great Britain might advance to the next stage.
Yeah, because they do have some leagues over there too.
They do have some leagues, and I do have friends that have played there in the past, and it's a decent living, but it's very back page. It's almost like saying, I play for the Oshawa Generals. Meanwhile, it's you have a following, but you're in the same area as the Maple Leafs, the Argos, the Blue Jays, TFC. TFC game tonight, by the way. Yeah. We have James Sharman on tomorrow to talk about that game. Should be a great game, too.
Should be my prediction for that game tomorrow?
Yes.
2-0.
2-0.
TFC. I don't think it will be one goal. I think they're going to score at least two. I'm going to take the Asian handicap.
And if they do that, they go to their second consecutive championship game, and they better win.
I don't think they'll miss. I don't think they'll pull. You know what? Don't stampede us. I know. Don't pull stamps.
That's good.
That's going to happen. That's bad for Calgary.
No, that is bad.
Speaking of bad, if you're Eli Manning and you're like kind of waiting to lose more games.
I'm
but
not even a Giants
yeah.
fan, and I'm disappointed at this.
It's just that. And again, we talked about last call. They were my last. No, they're my. Brought to you by RCCN North, RCC North. They're my extra last call because I can't believe this shows no class. You have to remember when it comes to people's legacies, there's certain numbers. They're going to mean something. Now, granted, if you think that consecutive games isn't a big thing, but I would argue as a professional athlete, those are numbers, especially as a quarterback. You're the target on every single play. He hasn't missed a start since 2004?
Yep.
And now, for no reason, I get so maybe you want to move on. And Geno Smith, you're not moving on to your future. Geno Smith has nothing to do with that.
No.
For whatever reason you're doing this, okay. But at least start the guy. So here's Eli, and he thought that's what was going to happen, that at least he'd get the start. But Coach Mack said no. This is, once again, courtesy of ESPN and property of the National Football League.
Just kind of thought it's best to give Geno the start, and I'll back him up. I'll be a good teammate. I don't like it, but it's part of football. You handle it, and do my job. To go out there knowing you're coming out, that's I just didn't think that's. How do you prepare? Hey, start this week. I was going to play the first half, and Geno was going to start the second half. But eventually they're going to start working in Davis, and I thought I was just starting and playing to keep a streak alive, and I didn't think that's the right thing.
See, I mean, that is pretty blatant right there. I mean, he thought the right thing was to at least get his start. If you want to put Geno in, fine, but to not start me at all. I'm kind of shocked. I think it's a Bush League move. I really do.
Giants organization is Bush League, and nobody better to talk about that than Eli's older brother, Peyton Manning, who joins us on the program. We just heard the clip, Peyton, about younger brother Eli. Old jokes aside, it's got to be a disappointing time in the Manning household, considering how this appears to be ending as a New York Giant.
Well, Dave, I'll be honest with you. A lot of people don't know this, and I know it's a shock, and I get that Eli is obviously disappointed that he's not going to start. But, boy, how do I say this? I don't know. My face is a little red. I phoned Coach Mack and said, don't play him. Well, don't even start him. I mean, he's terrible. Eli is just garbage. So sorry, Eli, but I thought that Geno kid, at least give him a chance because sometimes he looks like he's actually cold. And I said, well, keep him warm. Give him a chance, because Eli's not very good. So, oops.
I did not expect to hear this. So you actually picked up the phone and called Ben McAdoo.
Well, first I called the Mara family because they had ordered a pizza from Papa John's.
Oh, very good.
So sometimes I do that in my spare time. And then I said, hey, is that fat coach around? And they said, yeah, hell he is. The guy looks like Sean Levine. And I said, yeah, that one. And I said, don't play Eli. Don't even start him. No one. And I said, by the way, no, Dada doesn't even care. So, don't. By the way, do you get any numbers from the cheerleaders? Because
I didn't, but okay. Young Russell may have because he was
I
actually taking his time.
He's got as much chance. I'll tell you what. He's got as much chance getting a phone number from one of them girls as Eli does starting this Sunday. Thanks, Dave.
Peyton Manning joining us every once in a while here on RawMikeRichards.com and talking about little brother Eli, which I actually found surprising, Mike, because I did not know the inside of the inside story, that it was actually Peyton behind it all.
Yeah, well, but I'm telling you, that's just such a bad call. Here's a good call. Now, this is the start of college basketball season. So generally what happens, you'll find some schools that will visit other schools. Now, UNC Charlotte. UC Charlotte isn't a huge school, but they can play ball. They're any of those universities down in the Carolinas, they tend to actually be pretty good. But Presbyterian, Dave, is one of those eternal cupcake schools. Like Presbyterian will play the biggest of schools, and they'll get paid a lot of money, and they'll get slaughtered. They'll go down, they'll play Louisville, or they'll play Texas, or they play some of these schools because they want to warm up, so they beat them up. In this case, UC Charlotte's like, oh, you want us to go there, or whatever? Okay, we'll go there. I'm sure it's going to be a breeze. So I would assume property of NCAA and courtesy of ESPN. I'm not sure, but I'm going to say it that it is their property. Presbyterian, it's tied 72-72, dying seconds of what is supposed to be a cupcake game. And for UC Charlotte, they got to hold on and pray, but you shouldn't be praying against Presbyterian.
On a K. Inbounds it comes to JC. He'll put it up. Got it! He got it! JC Younger got it! JC Younger got it! JC Younger got it! JC Younger got it! PC wins! PC wins! PC wins! The shot is going to count! The shot is going to count! He absolutely got it off. They're going to review it because the crew is great. Absolutely, they're telling the students to get off the floor, but you can't blame them. You can't blame them. JC Younger, it's going to count. PC is going to win. A monster upset over UNCG that is going to count. As you're trying to review the play to our left.
In case you missed it, that was J.C. Younger who scored the basket, and courtesy of the broadcast team, I understand, was Presbyterian.
It may have been, and I'm going to go on a limb here saying that may have been Dave Mishkin's cousin on the call. I was going to say,
courtesy of Dave Mishkin's son.
I'm just saying, it was a great call. We love him.
Dave, you know what we mean. We're off now. Have I played everything I was going to play today? Did I get to anything else?
I think we're good.
I think I did get to everything. So if that is the case, here on a No, I have not got to everything. We've got one more thing to do.
Gotcha.
And I don't want to forget that. Courtesy of our friends at Rocky Cross Construction North, RCCN, a DKI family, as they are the sponsors of Last Call. So, let me see. Let's, Last Call, the criteria is things that we believe that should be on Last Call. Why is this not even... Here we go. Dave, do you want to go first?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go last call. Yeah. Last call, this is kind of easy because I'm piggybacking on what we just talked about minutes ago. It's last call for Ben McAdoo. And not only with the New York Giants because he's just a terrible coach, and last year clearly was a fluke, or at least that's what it sure appears with some of the decision-making process. It's all about treating people the right way. And when you have a legend that is a first-ballot Hall of Famer in Eli Manning, you treat him the right way. Therefore, Ben McAdoo, not only is this a last call for you as a Giant head coach, but this might affect you in the future of getting any other head coaching positions because of the treatment of a Hall of Famer like Eli Manning. Will you be a coordinator at some District 3 Division
Tennessee,
2?
go after the Tennessee job.
Yeah, I could see you doing that. NFL head coaching job, no, this is it. This is your last call, and Ben McAdoo fits that role today.
Okay, here's my last call. It has nothing to do with sports. It has to do with the decision by Mayor John Tory here in Toronto.
Oof.
Somehow they're taking these busy streets, and King Street is one of them. And almost inadvertently, without kind of notice, if you put it on the internet overnight or whatever it is, it just wasn't enough. So in front of our very studios, where people are used to driving, on the road, just driving, all of a sudden there's a picture or a sign that goes up there, and let's take a look at this video. This is what it looked like as we were coming into our studios. So completely blocked in the one lane by the streetcars. And then, of course, if you're looking into that inside lane, that's where Dave and I usually park every day. But people had to do U-turns. They had to turn around. I'm sure the goofs that go out and ticket people, I'm pretty sure that they probably went out there having a field day, gouging us. To me, if you don't want traffic, then just say what the purpose of this is. But don't have a surprise party where, by the way, so there was cops all out there. At some point, they give this warning, but then it starts being a ticket spree. And that, to me, is just going into the fish barrel, which happens to be the taxpayers, and just hammering us and having no chance, really, to have it. What say do we have in it? There's no say in it. So if this kind of, ambush continues, if you're Doug Ford, he's liking what he's seeing because there's nobody who likes it. And just ask the business owners along King Street if this is a good idea. It just isn't. Come up with a plan, I think, that is legitimate and is for the people. This, to me, isn't for the people at all. It's a disaster. To me, John Tory, because of that, you're on the last call.
I like that. Yeah. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Great way of not getting reelected, too, if he's going to keep on holding projects like this. It's just a disaster to begin with. But, you talk about clutter in the downtown, and you take away a major street away like King Street on both sides, east and west. That's a great way of not getting reelected. So well done.
What? Yeah, we were getting mad today.
Best friends? Yep.
Till the girls came in, then we were happy.
You want to go do karate in the garage?
I'm not Matt Lauer. We don't even know what he did. He's getting the Spacey treatment. He's getting the Louis C.K. treatment. He's getting the Harvey Weinstein treatment. We don't even know what happened. That's what scares me about all this stuff. I mean, I suppose it has to be legitimate. The guy lost his job on national television. He made so much money. This is usually a punchline, a joke, but he went to work every day in a helicopter. Just like Russell.
Similar, yep.
Yeah. Thanks to the Toronto Rock cheerleaders coming in. The Rock Cheer Squad. Awesome job. Make sure you get to the Toronto Rock. That game on Friday. Next Friday. What's that, the 12th?
The 8th. The 8th of December.
Against the Bandits. Make sure you get there. And subscribe to the channel, folks. Do it.